Hello, my name is Michelle Chavez. I am in the Teachership Academy class of 2014-2015, Phase 2. I do teach Education 1300, and my research project is EPCC, Establishing Priority Classroom Communication, Teacher-Student Interaction in the Classroom. In this slide, we're going to talk about progress engagement. And as you can see, this data is collected by our college through the Community College Survey in Student Engagement, which is also known as CESI, pardon me. You do see that it is student and faculty interaction that has been traced since 2008 to current. And the numbers that are reflected in the table from 2008 to 2012, you do see that it fluctuates in the 40s percentages. In 2013, it's still at 48.8. 2014, it rose a little, which is some progress, to 52.2. And currently, we don't have the data to support 2015. When I attended the general session by Dr. Serrata fall of 2013, he presented this table that you see there, which when I saw that, I thought it was really low. And I thought that student and teacher interaction could progress. And so I came up with a technique that I thought would help, and it did help in my classroom. So we'll go ahead and go into the next slides to cover that information. What is effective teacher-student interactions? What do they create? There's three focuses here. The first one is emotional support. Well, that is the positive relationships that are built between the teacher and the students. The following is the classroom organization. That is when you have a well-managed classroom that provides students with frequent engaged learning activities. You have to keep them engaged. And the last one is instructional support. Interactions that teach students to think and provide that ongoing feedback that they need throughout the semester. My next slide talks about what is teacher-student classroom interaction and how does that affect learning? Well, by welcoming curiosity. We must welcome every student and be able to hear what they have to say. And we also have to encourage our students to raise their own questions in the class about the content that is being taught or the claims being discussed. And lastly, the instructor can guide students to develop habits of mind for framing and answering questions. And that little picture you see on the bottom says, knowledge and wisdom begins with curiosity. So it's important for us to engage our students. My next slide, building strong teacher-student relationships. How do we do that? Well, it starts with motivating. So motivating students is key, very important to driving them to define and achieve their future dreams and current goals. Helping motivate students is one of the most challenging things that us teachers have to do, and also it's very rewarding, and that is part of being that teacher. Establishing creativity with students. You don't have creativity with a class just because you're the teacher and you run the class, but by the level of respect that you show your students. So that little picture that you see on the bottom, respect, you have to give it to get it. Getting to know your students. On the very first day of class, the environment we create and that impression that we make will influence that student far beyond those initial moments. And how do we do that? Well, that's through interaction, influencing them, empowering them, and understanding them. So my teacher-student interaction project consisted of Class A and Class B. My Class A is my control group, traditional teaching lecture methods within the class. And Class B was my experimental group, which is when I used my active learning techniques, which we'll be following in the next few slides. Interactive learning activities. The very first activity was my questionnaire. Our classrooms are filled with diverse students. This method allows teachers to get to know their students. And this questionnaire is coming out really light, but I will tell you it's basically about 10 questions that asks students, who are they, where were they born, how do they describe themselves, what vacations have they taken, what languages do they speak, questions like that to get to know them. Interactive learning techniques, the next one is my survey. It gives students that chance to reflect on how class is taught. How would they teach? And this method allows them to express. So this form rates the teacher in how we are teaching the class and how would they teach the class if they were the teacher. So we teachers get pointers in how we can help our students better in the classroom. The next learning activity is my colleague observation form. That's another teacher survey. That's another teacher that comes into your classroom and observes your class and the interaction that you're having with your students, and she or he will document it on this form. And this method will reveal the analysis of teacher-student interaction in the class. Last interaction, student interaction card. This documentation between teacher and student. Method is to see if teachers are fulfilling their teaching role. So we will list the students that we are really engaging with, and we'll list the students that we're hardly engaging with, so that way we can target them evenly. So what's the problem? Why is it important to establish priority classroom interaction and have that teacher-student interaction in the classroom? The hypothesis. These measures are designed to assess the hypothesis that the importance of EPCC, establishing priority classroom communication, in terms of teacher-student interaction in the classroom, will enhance its effects on class performance and retention. Here are my results. In red is my experimental groups, and in yellow is my control group. In class B, in the afternoon class, you can see that my interactions total 44. Of the number of students were 11 students. 23 students were interacting 23 times with the teacher, and the teacher was interacting back 21 times, equaling 44. In class A, these techniques were not used. The teacher had 16 students in the class, and there was only 5 interactions between the teacher and the student, only giving a total of 10 interactions. So class B, 16 students were in the class, 23 interactions with the students, 21 back from the teacher, equaling 44. So my goal on the bottom of this chart was to have 100%. Well, I was able to at least obtain 88% of interactions. The results. These material techniques of communication increase that classroom communication between the teacher and the students for the experimental group, finding that the control group would have had the same result if only the teacher would have used the same usual method of not just teaching and lecturing. So in using the same materials with the control group on another day, it gave me the same result in my experimental group. The SESI data. Student-faculty interaction. In general, the more contact students have with their teachers, the more likely they are to learn effectively and to persist towards their achievement of their goals. In conclusion, my research shows that teacher-student interaction in the classroom increased more in terms of class engagement. Establishing priority classroom communication helps create an environment that can enhance student learning, development, and retention in our community college. My references are as such, and this does conclude my presentation.